Wonderful. Thank you for these responses. Um, we appreciate it. It gives us a little bit more insight as to what everybody's struggling with during this time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So this is a amenity management course webinar in trying to help different communities deal with the struggles that might be occurring, and we're hoping that we could provide some valuable insights as to how to deal with these issues. If you do have questions, again, feel free to use that Q&A function. We'll be responding to those out the end of the webinar, unless there's something super highly relevant, in which case we might touch on it during. But just to kind of talk through the agenda really quick. First, we're going to be starting with just a quick overview as to what Vinteum Software is. Then talking about the current outlook with amenities, now, later, how to best kind of curb any sort of issues that might stem from amenities. From there, talking about some amenity guidelines, things for reopening, different considerations. And then we're going to run through, the actual Vinteum demonstration, how to use Vinteum software to manage these amenities and how it might be able to help. So just a quick little disclosure here. We are not doctors. We don't have our PhD. We're not an attorney. We're just, a couple nerds who enjoy reading too much on the internet and have a really cool tool to show, and have done a little bit of research to help communities in this tough time. So if you do have any other questions and you're not exactly sure which direction to go, we would recommend that you consult with your attorney. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in with a quick overview as to what Vinteum is. We do have some clients on here today, so I don't want to bore them with the details, but ultimately we've got a lot of different modules that Vinteum offers. We specialize in communication for condos, HOAs, and property management companies. And along that communication side, we help out with the emails, SMS, voice automated messages. What we could do there with voice automated messages is, put together a paragraph of text, convert that into an audio format, similar like a Siri or an Alexa, call residents on their individual landlines, office lines, cell phone, that sort of thing. With each community, we also provide a personalized website. We'll run through that here in a little bit. We actually just launched another tool for virtual meetings last month, which we're really excited about. We've partnered with Zoom, so it's going to be a familiar layout. But we've got all that communication piece in one centralized area, which is really nice. From the management side of things, we can help you out with the service requests. If you've got a landscaping request or maybe a leak in the roof, you could go ahead and submit those tickets to the association. We've also got package tracking. So, as we're ramping up for the holidays, a lot of packages are going to be sent around the nation. Well, with our tool, you can go ahead and track those easier, notify residents that a package has arrived, that sort of thing. Amenity reservations, you're going to be hearing a lot about that today. We also have all sorts of different storage options, right? So we could host the virtual meeting recordings. We could also host all of the online documents digitally. So whether that be your bylaws, your meeting minutes, all sorts of different stuff like that, whether it be the budget or maybe delinquency reports with different levels of access, depending on how a profile interacts with the system. In addition, we could also host all of that resident information, tracking not only the units, but who's in each unit, whether that be an owner, absentee owner, pets, vehicle information, all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of your one-stop shop for communication. From here, let's kind of dive right into the transition of amenities over the past couple months, right? Pre-COVID, if we're looking at a lot of these amenities, be first come, first serve. Oftentimes there's a log book or something in the lobby. If I'm looking at the poll, a lot of folks are saying that they don't even track reservations or they have a physical log book. So, these are some areas where, if it's a tennis court, it's first come, first serve. You don't really have to worry about any restrictions. There'd be large events at the clubhouse or pool. Cleaning was something that was visual, right? Hey, inspecting the bathrooms of the clubhouse, they look fine. We'll clean them next week or something like that. Whereas now, cleaning is a frequent occurrence. A lot of these events that we took for granted at the clubhouse and pool have now gone digital. That includes board meetings. Face coverings and physical distance is everywhere. It's a requirement. Capacity limitations, right? Sure, let's open the pool with the guidance of our state and county regulations, as well as maybe even having the attorney involved. But we should definitely limit capacity. How does that happen? What's that look like? And a recent poll done by Community Association Institute (CAI) said that 40% of communities are requiring a waiver of liability to be completed prior to using amenities such as the pool. So we're going to kind of go into some of those in a little bit more detail, but there are things that we could be done even before we get to amenities and some of these new restrictions to help out. So a couple things that we could do is send out a fact sheet, right? What's that look like? We need to inform people how this virus spreads, how to stop it, what types of masks should be used, that sort of stuff. And that's all relatively straightforward. And that's always updating. So while you might have done that, March, April, May, some of that information might have changed recently. So it's good to keep that up to date. In addition, we should educate our staff and residents. Consider those vulnerable individuals. What sort of special communications should we consider for them? How can staff reach out to them? In addition, what is that vulnerable set of individuals and how can we help them? Whether that's running to the store, that sort of stuff. So outside of the communication piece, also that protection piece, right? Making sure that we're continuing to use digital channels for communication, digital meetings, minimize physical traffic, provide hand sanitizers and adequate ventilation in shared rooms. So from that, we've also got those safe business operations, flexible policies, making sure, again, kind of going back to that training and education, and making sure that we're adapting to this new normal. Also, another consideration is pets. Right now, we know that they're pretty low risk as far as transferring of COVID, but they also carry other germs. So if you're going around petting a bunch of other pets, make sure that you wash your hands after. If you get a common cold, that could still reduce your immunity, your immune system. So from here, let's go into, some COVID-19 tracking tools. I know that there's a lot out there. CDC, WHO, COVID Act Now are just a couple that I've been familiar with. And what I really like is this risk level. Because really what's important is that we're not only tracking the national cases, which is important, and state cases, but also local cases. And that's what's really going to be important as we're looking at the communities and the amenities. So here we've got a map of the US. Right now, it's not looking too hot. We did break a new record yesterday, 142,000 new cases, which is a little spooky, but at the same time, if we can take the necessary precautions and that sort of thing, I think that we'll be okay, or at least I'm hopeful. But again, one thing to look at is these risk levels, and this is going to directly relate to how you should be working with each one of your amenities and the precautions that you should be taking. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. So with this next form, this is a Amenity Guidelines sheet that has been put together by CAI. In this particular example, we're looking over sport courts. So tennis, pickleball, basketball, that sort of thing. But they have guidelines for about 15 different areas of amenities. That might be the pool, that might be the clubhouse, that could be a bunch of other things. So we're going to go ahead and share that in a follow-up email so everybody has access to this. But we did find this to be very insightful. So one thing that I kind of want to run through is some of these suggestions that they have. So right now, if we're looking back at that map, a couple of these states, they're considered to be high risk, in which case, you might want to consider closing these amenities. However, other states and other counties might have a moderate risk, in which case, CAI, again, they recommend consulting with an attorney. They're not doctors either, but, you could definitely consider having some of these amenities open. They highly recommend posting a sign. Again, what sort of rules are there with this amenity? What sort of capacity restrictions are there with this amenity? Do we want to limit people if it's if it's a pool to one, maybe two families at the pool at a time, or maybe one person per every other lane at a lap pool? These are some considerations to be made. Another thing is frequency restrictions. So how often do these, does CAI recommend that these be used, right? Once per day, at least 2 hours between reservations. Maybe, once things really start opening up, you could resume normal operations. So here, another thing to consider is the liability release form. This is something, as I mentioned earlier, about 40% of communities are recommending, 40% of communities are already implementing something like this based off of CAI's survey. So it is something that you might want to consider. Again, consult that community association attorney before completing it, but it's something that could definitely help out. So from here, a couple of these, like capacity, reservation frequency, and liability release, there's a couple different ways that we could do that. Vinteum definitely has tools to help you out, but there's also shared calendars. We realize that Vinteum is a paid solution. I'm sure if you get creative and this is just something that you're looking to do at a, individual community level and don't have the funds or the resources, start a Google Calendar, and allow people to go ahead and book a spot on it. There's another tool called SuperSAS. This is one that some of our clients have used prior to transitioning over to Vinteum. It is a scheduling specific tool. They do offer a free account for a limited usage. But again, just kind of anything that can provide the association with some capacity capacity limitations, frequency adjustments, as well as if there's any sort of liability release, that's really important. We use a couple tools here at Vinteum for other things like DocuSign or HelloSign, which could also be used. Vinteum has this liability form release kind of tied into it, but again, it's just really important to protect the community, protect the board. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainty around COVID-19, specifically the reliability. It's a pandemic. It's kind of a tough situation to prove negligence and that sort of thing, but better safe than sorry, that's for sure. So, a couple other things to consider: cleaning, making sure that there's adequate cleaning supplies, and then, distancing and whether or not it's even open. So from here, let's go ahead and jump specifically into, pool and spa survey results. Going back to this CAI survey that was taken of 2,200 communities from 39 states. Just some fun facts there you could kind of read on your own, but some of the fun ones that we saw were, 36% are bring your own chair, and that 35% higher than budgeted expenses. That aligns with the poll that we just took as well. We're seeing this from a lot of different folks that, having to come up with all of these new tools is expensive. And some of the things that we've seen at Vinteum, to kind of go along with that CAI survey, we've also seen limited pool capacity. We've seen scheduling, alternating pool lanes. So if you've got a total of 6 lanes, you're only scheduling for 3 of those now. Restrict reservation frequency. You want everybody to have a fair opportunity to use the pool or use different amenities. Definitely increased emphasis on reservations, whether that's, calling the property manager who kind of has a master calendar, or using a digital tool like we were talking about earlier. Also an increased desire for mobile. Looking at our mobile app, we've had 131% increase year to date. That's from January. A lot of people are now looking at a mobile app for solutions, and they want to you know, be able to access this information either on the way to the tennis court, make sure that it's open, or maybe they're going to the grocery store, they're in line at the grocery store, they could check this as well. So next, we're going to go ahead and jump into what an amenity reservation manager is, what some of the benefits are. So immediately, you know, some of the things is reduced contact. You don't have to go to the office to register. We've got electronic reminders, whether that be an email, a text message, or SMS, or a push notification. We do have an iPhone and Android application, which could help with those. It's going to reduce phone calls to the office, right? Freeing up time for management, freeing up time for office administrators. We're also going to provide some insights to usage, right? You're able to pull these reports either, you know, if you're seeing that the tennis court is used a ton, hey, maybe we should upgrade that court. If you're seeing that it's not used at all, maybe swap it for pickleball or volleyball, something along those lines. And it's a huge convenience for residents, right? They're able to make these reservations on the go. So the next thing that I want to do is kind of jump into a live demonstration. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to one of our public facing websites. And again, this is kind of a templated website. It's provided by it's provided to all of our communities. You know, and you could adjust this on the back end. But what's really nice is we've got this access your community section, and that's going to bring me to a resident backend portal. Now we've kind of slimmed this out, so it's only including the amenities tool. But I do want to run through what this might look like. So if you're a resident, you've logged into the system, how can I interact with the site? How can I go ahead and book a reservation? So I'm going to go ahead, and we've got our list of 4 different amenities here. I'm going to go ahead and select the tennis court east. Now here we've got a calendar display. We'll notice on the 26th, this is blocked for Thanksgiving. If I'm thinking about booking on Saturday, here's where we're able to see when it's currently reserved, when it's open. Now we can place restrictions based off of, you know, it needs to be a couple hours between reservations or a certain amount of time in advance. But I'm going to go ahead and book between 8:30 and 9:30. Let's go ahead and see if we can do that. So here we've got a reservation. This is the unit and building that I'm in. And I've also got my terms of use here. I could go ahead and click this. And here is the terms of use. Now, in addition to this, we could also include, you know, more general information, as well as the hours of operation, right? As well as blocked days. So it kind of gives people an overview as to, you know, what the rules are. Am I allowed to go? Is it open? That sort of stuff. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and accept the terms of use and then confirm that reservation. Now here we do have a confirmation message. So this could reinforce those rules and regulations. It could go ahead and provide you with some, you know, COVID updates, that sort of stuff. And my phone is just going off now because I just got a text message and a push notification. So, so pretty straightforward, especially something with the tennis court, right? This is automatically approved. It's kind of first come, first serve, with some restrictions and with a little bit of insight into how often it's being used. But something like a clubhouse, maybe this is something that, you know, you maybe need a little bit more notice. Maybe these need to be reserved weeks in advance. Maybe it requires property manager intervention. So let's go ahead and run through an example with this clubhouse. So let's say if I want to book the 3rd of December, I want to go ahead and select from noon to 8 p.m. Now, first off, I've got that same request to accept the terms of use, but I'm also able to create a guest list here. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to confirm my reservation. And this is a quick reminder, making sure that you've got to abide by the rules and regulations, as well as you've got to submit a security deposit and potentially certificate of insurance to the property manager. So from here, let's go ahead and add in, let's just say it's a board meeting that we're reserving the clubhouse for. Now, I'm creating a guest list. And what this guest list does is it allows us to track who is going to be coming to this amenity reservation or this event. So in this case, if we want to create a public link, I could go ahead and copy this. And I could send this to my friends, my family, the board, and I could go ahead and invite them to whatever sort of event I'm holding, in this case, board. So this is what this reservation tool would look like. So you send this out to your prospective guests, and then we've got a option for them to go ahead and complete their first name, last name, email address, and phone number. And what this is also great for is contact tracing. So now we've got the ability to see who is at the meeting, who's at the event, whether they're coming or whether they're not, because they'll have the option to RSVP, as well as after the event, if there is an issue, you could go ahead and follow up with that information here. Or you could also do so manually and go ahead and insert those residents or guests as you see fit. From here, we are able to print out that guest list. So the day of the event, you know exactly who's going to be attending or not. So relatively straightforward from the resident side of things, but pretty powerful nonetheless. So I think we've gone through quite a bit of info here on the resident side, but you might be asking yourself as an administrator, as a manager, well, how do I set all of this up? And for that, I'm going to pass that over to Layla. She is our customer success manager, and she knows the in and out of Vinteum much better than myself. So I'm going to kind of hand over some of those details to her. So I'm going to go ahead, stop sharing.
All right.
And Layla, are you able to share your screen?
I think I am.
Wonderful.
Can you see that?
I can, yes. And if any of the attendees could just confirm that they're able to see and hear Layla, that would be fantastic.
So you can see this is the same community. As I'm logged in as a master administrator, it means I have full access. So that means I can see a couple more tabs here. I'm going to go into amenities. And again, I just have a few more options. So like residents, I can also place a reservation and I can see all of our amenities here. I can also see the history of reservations. So if I was the property manager, I would have received an email about John's reservation of the clubhouse, and I can go ahead and accept it or reject it here. And I can see the guest list and I can see the details of his reservation. And I can see all reservations throughout time here as well. So if I wanted to go ahead and set up an amenity, I would do that in amenity setup. So what I'm going to do, in keeping with COVID and what we've seen a lot, is to create a pool. So we barely ever had pools as amenities before. No one would really include them because it was first come, first served. You just showed up. Now, not so much. So what I would do is I'd include the name, how much it is, and very important, the capacity. So maybe only 4 people are allowed to come to my pool. I would then choose from these beautiful images that we have. So we have one of a pool now. So this beautiful water here, and save that. So I've set up the basics already. And now what I can do is choose the specific rules. And you can go as much into detail as you want. How long are the reservations? How much time in advance do they need to request? And then, quite important, the opening hours. So I could go ahead and delete the times that we have here and select when it's open. So I would select the days. So it's set every day. And then maybe it opens at 7 until 9 p.m. And I can add those here, and that means that residents can't reserve out of opening times. Any general information, I can put that in here. I can again include a guest list. I probably wouldn't for the pool. And I can include a reason. So that's quite important for a clubhouse. Maybe residents aren't allowed to hold, I don't know, a rally. I don't know why they would, but a rally at your clubhouse. And if they say that's what it is, they can't book it because they've included a reason. As John showed, we can block off dates. And then we get into frequency restrictions. Fly just went over my camera. We can get into restrictions. So how much time between separate reservations? Maybe I need to clean it properly. So 2 hours. I might want to limit how many times they can reserve an amenity within a certain amount of days. I can do this for the resident. I could also block their whole unit. So not just one person, but the whole household couldn't block it more than a few times a day or a month. And then again, within the amount of days provided. So if it's more specific, 28 days rather than a month or something like that, I can include, 10 reservations within 30 days. Since I've set up a pool, I probably want to include some sharing. So I've said the maximum capacity is 4. So I can allow 4 people to book the pool at the same time. So this is a new feature of ours responding to COVID. We've seen that people want to book a amenity more than one person at a time, which we never used to see. So we've responded to that, and this is a really great new feature that we've added. And then if it requires approval, I can do that. I can set a queue, so a waiting list. They can get their confirmation message. So it could be as simple as thank you, or it could be more detailed rules. Again, I can include the terms of use. So don't use if you have COVID, for instance. And I can activate that. So they would have to accept that when they then book. And when I save that, that goes live. And people could then go in and book this amenity. Have I missed anything here, John? Anything else to add? No?
No, I don't think so.
All right, perfect. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and we can go into the Q&A section. And if there are any specific questions, I'll start sharing again.
Wonderful. Okay. So again, as you are listening, if you do have questions, you could go ahead and send them over to the Q&A. That's where we'll go ahead and respond to those. We've got one here. Can an administrator book an amenity for a resident? And yes, the answer is they can. So for example, if you've got some residents that don't subscribe to our system or don't subscribe to email, you could go ahead and plug in their reservation based off of whether they call you, they email you, they text you, they walk in. You could go ahead and plug that into the system. So it's all, again, kept in one centralized place. So thanks for that. We've got another question regarding, let me see here. About maximum capacity. So we've already adjusted that. Well, we've got a question about reporting. Layla, are we able to host any reports, and what does that look like?
Yes, I forgot to go through that. We can create reports. We can create it per amenity. We can also do it on the reservation. So if I just want to see canceled reservations for the month, I can do that. So we can create reports based on time, amenity, and status of the reservation. Or I can just download a whole report of everything as well. So they're very flexible.
Wonderful. Okay. Cool. And I'm not seeing any other questions. Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to ask? I'm not seeing anything else come in. So I guess just to kind of recap, we will be recording this, or we have been recording this. We're going to go ahead and publish this on YouTube. And as well as with some of those other resources that we were displaying, like the CDC map. So you'll have access to that. If there's any other questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out. We'd love to get some feedback from everybody, whether you're a current client using this tool or whether you are a prospective client looking to learn a little bit more. Feel free to reach out. I'm going to go ahead and send our Perfect. Layla beat me to it.
Way ahead of you.
Uh-huh. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out us@vinteum.io, or you could call us 844-900-0910. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending. I appreciate you joining us here today. And thank you very much. Oh, we do have one hand raised from Hector. Do you have any questions, Hector? Would you like to either shoot us a quick message in the chat, or would you prefer that I just allow you to talk? Hector, can you hear us? All right, I'm not seeing that. But thank you very much for attending, everybody. If there are any questions, or if Hector, you'd like to shoot us an email, feel free, and we'd love to address anything that you might have. So thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Layla, for running through that with us. And
Thank you.
have a wonderful Thursday, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye.